God's first creation, father, son, uncle, brother. On a journey of highs and lows, you were created in the image of God and given dominion in the earth, destined for great things and to fulfill purpose. Join us on Men on Monday as we discuss all issues related to men. We are unifying family, building you, building strong families, building strong futures. Join us on Men on Monday.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is another Monday morning. You better believe it. It is the 7th day of February. I cannot believe that we just literally started 2022 and we are already in the second month of the year. Good morning to all of you who are with us. Send us some love. Let us know where you're listening from, whether you're in St. John, St. Lucie, Christchurch, Atlanta, Jacksonville, wherever you are, UK. Let us know where you are. What was that, Bishop Marcel? You're St. Philip? St. Philip, they say? Good morning and welcome to all of you with us. I want to first let you know before we get started that, of course, we're heading into the CXC season. And if you need that extra help, CSET mathematics and accounts lessons being offered by Bishop Mark here. You can see that number 268-1078. Please give him a call. And he has over 30 years experience teaching. We also have Bishop Edison Bino. He who is also, I'll tell you a little more. He's been working behind the scenes and he's a great author. If you did not know, penned more than 10 books. This time it is 8 success factors for a healthy life. And you can check it out on Amazon and make your purchase today. And also we must say congrats to Bishop Edison Bino, also the pastor now at Charnock's Pentecostal. Big shout out to you, sir. Yep, and to the Charnox family. Good morning to all of you. We commend you on work well done. Don't forget to check out Minister Sinclair Brown Healthy Cottage, also making you, your body healthy. It's the house of the Lord, so we're going to make sure that we keep it, the temple, all healthy. So good morning to all of you who are with us. And a good morning to Jason, who is with us. Have a good one to you. Good morning to you, Jason. Have a good one. So, gentlemen, how are you today?
Hey, good morning, Marissa. I am doing well. God is good. Amen. And welcome everybody to the program.
All right. I am blessed in the name of Jesus. It is wonderful to be here. All excited. All the people that are watching and listening, please post and like and share. We need to get this message out here, get this ministry going.
So here we are. It's a second show. Good morning to all of you who are with us. Jason and Gloria, wherever you are, send us some love in the chat, like and share our stream this morning. So here's my question for you. Good morning to the is that Ramon and all of the folks over there at WIST. Good morning to you. So we've been looking at, what is it? The green flags for men.
Green flags, yes.
Men are there. I had some men stop me and say, we always talk about women, but it's time for the men to know what to look for. And he says, including a woman that knows how to cook. But you go on. Let's recap from last week, Sinclair.
But I want to hear Mr. Bishop. Mr. Bishop, how are you doing, Bishop Barr? How are you doing today?
Yes, I recognize that. I guess Marissa did the best for last. I'm good, and I'm glad to be here. And I'm always feel very happy to be a part of y'all. But what happened is me and Marissa was talking earlier, so she figured that I was here every cent. So it didn't make any sense. So good
I
morning to
apologize.
everybody. It's indeed that's a person that's my good friend up there, except when it comes to the cooking thing, but we'll leave that where it is.
Yes. So we consider like the fact that the men are.
Aspirations, or you
No, I'm going for last week's evidence, you know.
Yeah, we just continue part 2.
Right. So you know.
This whole bringing a cup of coffee for you in the morning. We'll send
yeah,
I bring and you will bring. I will bring for you and you will bring for me.
You see that kid? You see that kid? Not going to work. Not going to work. You can't be doing that. You know,
that is not a great
you know what I get? Right. You do because of love, not to get. You see, but believe that.
I never said that. Please quote me correctly.
You said when I bring the thing, you bring the coffee. That's what you say.
I bring coffee sometimes and you bring coffee sometimes. What's wrong with
all right, but you know that sometimes. Okay.
Look with green flags. We got flags. It's carnival up in here, man.
All right, let's go. So let's go. We want to recap for you this morning.
For last week.
Yes, go ahead.
So we touched on 7 and we're kind of going a little deeper. And once again, we're speaking from the perspective of you have your personality types, there's certain preferences you like, there are physicalities about the person you like. So all those things should have already been past that, you know what I mean? So you know, so we into that level. So we're looking for green flags, and we're talking to men. And once again, not saying that all of them have to be dear necessarily, but these ones are very important before you go into the next level, the next step of looking for other green flags in a relationship. So she should have we start with it's going for number 1, her personal relationship with God, her personal relationship with God is important. So we're not talking about religion, we're not talking about a church, we're not talking about a pastor, we're talking about a relationship with God. So that thing of having that relationship with God is important. We talk Christians here, so if you're not a Christian, you know, you can listen to the others, but for us as men of God, that has to be important. Where she has this relationship with God, she has been accustomed to being pruned by the Holy Spirit. Because we talk about submission to the man like unto Christ, if she's not accustomed to even listen to the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit say, don't do this or to shut up or to do this or whatever, she's accustomed to the Holy Spirit speaking to her. So this is quite important. Number 2, having relationship with parents, having a healthy relationship with parents is a good flag to have, a green flag to look for, and especially with daddy having a healthy relationship, not just a relationship, but a healthy relationship. Because what can happen sometimes, you can see a person is married and somebody say, oh, if parents are married, that doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship is healthy. You're talking about a healthy relationship with parents. Number 3, friends, having a place where you can be friends with that person so that you can learn to trust them. If you find that information you share with them, all of a sudden they toss back at you, or that is what you saw because you're just your father, we just in the friendship stage, then that is not necessarily a green flag. You want a green flag person, you can be their friend. Number 4, have a healthy relationship with self. That person have a healthy relationship with themselves and their emotions. Have a healthy relationship with themselves and their emotions, because if a person still have challenges with their own self, they're expecting you to fill that, and you cannot fill a cup that is broken or has holes in it. So that is not necessarily your job, but not saying you can't stay, but it is, every person have that is a very good green flag. Going on to that, health relationship with emotions and anger, understanding how to be angry but sin not, and disrespectful, a healthy relationship with time, and a healthy relationship with money. Because if she's good with her money, she will be good with your money. So that's some 7 green flags. Just saying, not saying you have to take all of them. So that doesn't mean that if she has 2 red flags and those 2 that you dump the whole bucket. But those ones are healthy in progression. Bishop Martin, I see you shaking your head. Your microphone.
Yeah, no, I was just here smiling. I remember all who tussled with Marissa last week. because you know, as you said before, we can talk about the green flags we should look for, but I glad you mentioned that point. It's important also to recognize that it ain't gonna be easy to find all of them green flags, and so we're going to have to make some concessions and so on. And then obviously once you understand they're there, if the friendship going well, we should be able to implement certain tweaks, Marissa, certain tweaks that would embrace, you know, what the lady would want and what the man could go with, and vice versa. So I would think that even although it can't get all the green flags, the whole process of working to achieve from both sides is very important. Yes, please.
I allowed you with that. Go ahead. Continue.
Well, you're definitely not going to get everything that you're looking for, but I think it's important to look at the things that are important to you, because as Marissa would have said, you need to have your boundaries. You need to know what you are looking for. So there's some things that are absolutes for everybody. You might determine, listen, well, definitely a green flag for every Christian relationship should be that relationship with the Lord. You can negotiate with that. There's some negotiables, and then there's some non-negotiables. So you might have a situation where the woman can't cook for nothing. She can't cook, so she might not even, Bishop Mark, be able to make that cup of coffee. So you might not be able to get the cup of coffee. You understand? No, that does not have to be a deal breaker, because you might be a person who can cook excellently. So if you can cook excellently, by all means, you take on the responsibility of doing the cooking. So you have to know what is important to you. There are definitely some deal breakers, and when you encounter any of those deal breakers, you know this relationship ain't going nowhere. It make no sense further investing in this relationship. You basically are going in separate directions. So you really got to know what green flags are important. But it's important to understand when you can take this relationship to the next level, because as ministers of the gospel, we've seen people in dead-end relationships. I mean, relationships that just weren't going anywhere because there were so many different red flags. There weren't sufficient green flags that said, look, this relationship can go forward. So this is a healthy discussion to help us to understand those green flags that says, yeah, this is somebody that I can spend the rest of my life with.
Yes, in the midst of all of that, let me see, Marissa's ready. In the midst of what we're discussing, even when it comes to the whole, we last week, and we talked about cooking. So bring that into the variable. For some people, that is very important. And is it really the food is the issue? Or is it the emotion that goes with it? Is it the service or feeling that level of a person, serving towards me? Is what really is it? Is it, a person saying, "Oh, I want food," like legit? Because I've seen people got food but still felt bad because it wasn't the food that they want. You know what I mean? Because the person doesn't cook in that style that they like, and they still
Just gonna go there.
right? So is it really the food? Is it what? What is it? What is it? What is the emotional or the language that is there? And that's why to me these ones are fundamental, because if these are in place, then when we might look at the fruit, because we think the fruit is the issue, You know what I mean? As Bishop Morris says, like the presented problem is never the problem. Right? So we're looking to deal with the fruit, but what is the root of this issue? What is the seed in this situation? So when a person says I want a person to be able to cook, is it cooking necessarily? I do believe that cooking is important, but I don't think necessarily, especially 2022, that's a deal breaker. But I think it's important. But what is the emotion behind it?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think clear that I come now later. I know you asked us yet, but I agree to say because a lot of times maybe stipulate we want these things. Then you check deeper. It isn't so much that that particular thing should really be making or breaking the relationship. But what happens is that because you might be accustomed to that, you see your mother do that all the time. You might see it as a way because your mother would take care of your father in that was one of the things she did. So you measure a person's ability to love you by whether or not they can prepare a meal, whether or not they can cook and all of that. But one of the wonderful things about relationships is that if you start with friends and we get some of those other green flags, right? a woman will not have a problem humbling herself that she can't cook to try to learn, because the love should be pushing her to look. I ain't necessarily learn this to cook every day, but I believe that if I love him and that is something he expects, I will try to learn to do better and to meet his need. What is wrong? Does that mean you're subservient? Does that mean that you're nobody because
hey, here we go.
You know? Does it mean that we should get in the front of the house and say, let me take a second, I ain't cooking. Do we do that? Or does love say, look, let me try a thing, honey, teach me. Let me have some fun in the kitchen. I can burn some eggs. I can mash up some rice, but I can do it for you. You understand? And if at the end of the day, you realize you don't care what you do, you bring up the food, we leave that with this. You know? They put the food and you do the cooking as the man. But you gotta try these things. That's what love is. Love is giving here and taking here, you know? Anyhow, that's what I do. But Lady Marissa, you're coming in.
So the gentlemen have been having their say about the green flags, and we know they like to give me trouble. So good morning to all of you who are with us. Feel free to share your comments and your thoughts with us. So interestingly enough, I'm gonna go to Bishop Edison and then come back to you, Bishop Mark. Bishop Edison said something that I did say last week. You must know first what you want. I believe that you must first know what your needs are. If you are as a man, you're a businessman. If you are a man that works in healthcare, you will know that your time is constantly going to be challenged. You need to know you have a potential spouse who understands managing that type of time. Going back to the issue now that Bishop Mark just talked about in terms of cooking, because there are times when a woman can seek to meet a man's needs. Especially, let's talk about food, because we know that they often be grown up in a culture which says that a woman must be able to cook. And if she does not know to cook, it somehow demeans her value, because men love a woman that can cook. But if she's not able to meet you on that level, but is able to meet on other levels, then there must be a compromise. The same way that he is not going to meet on our levels, and there has to be a compromise. Bishop Mark just said that love would cause you to improve yourself. Yes, but love will also understand that, you know what, maybe she's a good homemaker, mother, businesswoman, etc., but when it comes to the kitchen, she does not manage it. I'm better in that area, or maybe we just have to eat out. I think that we need to understand that you must not force especially this whole issue about cooking and bringing this coffee in the bed, because if you have a mother that has practiced her son to certain things. Say that again.
No, the word you use there, force. You know, you put this a word there that got me in trouble. Force. I mean,
I don't believe that a woman wants to force. I don't want a man forcing me, and I don't want forcing man either.
But why would you use force? Force. You're saying that as you're saying,
I was specific in using that word forced.
Yeah, but that's a vicious word. That's the man trying to walk off you.
Listen to me. When I marry you, you must be able to cook and bring me breakfast in bed. And if you don't bring me breakfast in bed, that something is wrong. No, we don't want that type of forced love. We want a love that enjoys bringing a spouse breakfast in bed when they're married. That's all I'm saying. But we need to understand that, as you say, Bishop Mark, love will cause you to
Listen, let me jump in.
Wait. Before Minister Sinclair jump in, let me be the peacemaker here. When we talk about green flags, right, we're talking about the things that should be non-negotiable. We're talking about the things that should be important. So, for example, we emphasize that relationship with Christ, because that is important to a Christian relationship. If that is lacking, it's going to affect the relationship in a detrimental way. We're talking about things like how a person manage time, because if a person can't manage time, they can't manage money, and they're talking about really can manage time, can manage money, then it can create certain problems for the relationship. It's going to create challenges. So what we want to focus on are some of the non-negotiables. As Marissa said, there can be some things that you could give and take. I think we're agreed on that there can be some areas for give and take. We ain't got a problem with some give and take. But if there are certain non-negotiables that will affect any relationship, I think that we got to look at those kinds of flags. So we're looking at the positive side. We're looking at the positive green flags that tells us, yeah, we could go ahead with this, and then we try
Yes.
to avoid the red
And
flags
not
that
forcing
say,
issues because that's what you want.
but Marissa, I ain't going down the line of
You
the
see this?
forcing issue. The other gentleman will speak to that. I ain't going to that line. But I'm just saying
I
that
made
in
sure I
this
cleared my
discussion,
hand
we're looking at the
because
non-negotiables.
good. But that,
But
but
you know,
as I
the
said,
God love,
because but you
enough love
see,
about is,
I'm
so
understanding what
at
you're
the end of
saying
the day.
because there's sometimes for men, and I'm speaking as a woman, there's some things for men that are non-negotiable because this is what they grew up with and this is what they want. So I'm just talking about that. Sinclair, go ahead. You've been smiling. I know you have something to say. Add, adjust, delete, add. Go ahead.
I always have something to say. Um, the thing of that, I can tell you this, and that's one of the reasons I see it. These 7 principles are pivotal, right? Because the root is more important than the fruit. It is. As Bishop Mark said, is it about cooking or not about cooking? Yeah. So even if you say the man accustomed to having, he preferred ground provisions. He didn't want a macaroni pie. He don't like lasagna, right? He preferred ground provisions. He accustomed to strong food, strong back food. He didn't want the food that got him mad, you know. I must say, we talk about the fundamental, we talk about the root, we talk about the trunk, we talk healthy emotions. That's why we talk about healthy emotions. And if you listen, that's why I think to coin a little bit. Let me go to the Bible a sec. The Bible says to men, to love their wives, as Christ loved the church, give him his life for it. I've never, sorry, in all the conferences and the different seminars I've done, only one man in all the time I've ever shared, only one man had a challenge with that principle. Or he asked the question and I kind of jumped on him for even asking a question about that. So he asked me if it is literal physical dying for the woman. And he said, well, if it's a choice between you and your wife dying, I don't understand your question, my man, because that shouldn't be a question. You know what I mean? However, I've never had a man question that. We talk about loving her, as Christ loved the church, and be giving up his life for her. Never a time. The way here, man says, but if she if she submit to me, then I will love her. However, whenever you hear a submission, ever you hear, oh, if a man truly loves me, I will submit to him. And I want to tell men that that's a lie. Do not believe that lie. It is a lie. Do not believe that if you really, 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 really love a person, that a person will submit to you. Because if that is the truth, then all of us will submit to God. Yes? Because you don't think nobody can love anybody more than God. And we still fighting against it. So a lot of men go into the situation thinking that if I really, really love the woman, really, really love the woman, she'll submit and bring the coffee or cook the stew food. No, my brother. That happened. Submission is submission. Understanding self is understanding self. Full stop. The negotiator and the debate is always going to happen because if I feel you're treating me like a slave, because some people have a negative emotion to cooking or cleaning or what I might consider domestic, they will always have an issue with it because all of a sudden the dishes in the sinks, it becomes a problem. Yeah? The mopping becomes a problem. The wiping the counter becomes a problem. Cleaning the fridge becomes a problem. The stove becomes a problem. The bathroom becomes it doesn't stop. Because if I have a negative emotion towards cleaning and I feel as though you're putting that on me, we have a case in our hands. And that is what I'm saying. It has to do with healthy emotion, knowing yourself. And these white green flags like that are quite important.
Okay, so let's look at this comment here by Sharice this morning. Cooking is a green flag for both, and I don't even want to say cooking. I just talk because you just talk about cleaning too. So these things are green flags for both parties. Managing money, all of these things too. I'm going to put that all there when she talks about cooking, cleaning, managing money, emotions. You don't want to be married all the time and having to eat out or go back to your parents with any issue constantly. You don't want to be doing that. So, if you can hire a cook, solve the problem.
Yeah, but you see, Lady Maria says this, right? I'm glad that the Charisse made that comment, because these things cause and create a lot of problems in marriages, right? And you know that there's some, and we are not here in any way trying to say that the problems will come from both sides, because I know of a particular situation where many situations where the guys go back to go back to the mother's food and eating and all kind of thing, and don't eat home and all kind of things. I think these things create a lot of issues. So therefore, it will be down on that man to try to, speak to his wife honestly, be cooking and good and get her to do better. But it is important, and it's bigger than the cooking, and as you say, only the cooking. But as Sinclair said, a lot of times it comes from a mindset or a determination or a choice. I see me. No man again. No, I do what I want to do. If he want to cook, go get me. Because the mindset is that the ladies connect because they have seen what they call subservient behavior, which was the love for the mother by their mother or whatever. And so they come with this concept that if I go cook, I lower down, right? If I go clean only, and some ladies, when they do cook, so they say outside is his, inside is mine. But then if the guy leave a glass somewhere, it's a big noise. You understand? So I can't understand that double standard. Sinclair saying you could love sometimes till you get on the baller. If the women have in their mind that submission is something negative or bad, you could give them that, give them the next submission ain't happening. So it is important that we get the whole thing together. But a lot of these issues then create other issues, because if I love somebody and they can't cook, I feel excellent. My brother was that he can cook, and he humbled himself. His wife taught him, and I know he's one of the best cooks in Bible. The children said that he cooks now even better than his mother. That the mother, so by helping him to he humbled him helping him to do that, she got to know when things were difficult. So the love thing, the love God, don't do it. That's where we talk about friendship too. If you good friend, we can disagree, but we can try to mend our ways and try to get things back together. Call these friends, But when you're lovers and give people your heart, boy, listen, boy, eyes the mess with your heart. You want to give somebody a cuff. You see? And so along with that idea, I'm doing Daffy also before we went. And cooking, and that kind of thing. Hey, that's my little say there.
It's a men's show, so let the men have their say. Let's continue, Minister Sinclair.
Oh.
Shots fired, Sinclair. Shots fired.
You see? We can talk about this. We coming all the way. This is another thing. Can we talk about healthy emotions? I mean, you all play a Marissa. Wait, I say, wait, are you? Come. There we go. Because many times we talk about healthy emotions. No, seriously. And this is it, because in the compromise of understanding healthy emotions, I said a lot of things we discuss fruit, because a lot of women say they want an assertive guy. Okay. Ramon said, don't let you get me. I let you get me, Ramon. I got the reins tight.
Go ahead, Minister Sinclair.
I don't know. Looking at somebody's here. Sorry, their comment is Kelia Goodrich. I think that's
yes. I saw that comment.
Let me go to hers. But because inside his mind, must you leave the stuff laying around for me to pick up? She says, LOL. I don't leave garbage on the lawn.
Jesus. Help us, Jesus.
Jesus. Anyhow. Right. So let me go. The difference between the outside, because we talk about the lawn, the outside, fixing the car, cleaning the car, putting gas in the car, whatever, oil in the car. For instance, you use the car, I clean the car. I necessarily dirty the car. Yeah. And the other things around the house, because we don't tell grass to grow, grass will grow. So the thing about it is, and I do understand, it can be disrespectful if a person just leave things, and that is a totally different thing altogether. Right? Because a person just leaving things around, me speak about it more one way. By a person deliberately leaving things, just walk with a cup. The cup doesn't have to stay on the floor and things like that. So I can understand feeling disrespected, as you said. And there's a good conversation you have with your spouse because we talk friendship and the ability to have a conversation or a negotiation with this. To give and I love when you give that example. You say, well, babes, the couple, whatever. And sometimes you need to do an illustration. You just say, the person say a bag in the middle of the lawn, like what going on, babes? Well, that's how I feel every time you leave the glass on the table and leave the ring around it. So you have that healthy discussion. So that is a good space to talk about because we have a relationship. Those things are there now. As I said, it's fundamental in going through the relationship. Once again, we talk about at the beginning. I love what Bishop said. Remind these are things that we're looking for before the marriage. None of these things can be developed in the marriage, but we talk about green flags. Once again, if you can have a healthy discussion with your woman as a man, dealing with this woman and eventually looking to make her his wife, the fact that he can feel comfortable to have unhealthy conversations. Because what can happen if you find in the dating process, if you don't agree or we disagree, and there is the walk off, there's the blocking on social media, all those different things, the disconnect and not calling back. Those are not say cannot change, but I'm just saying those are not healthy flags to be going into the relationship with. So that's the thing we don't have a healthy emotion and having healthy emotion with self. Yeah. Healthy relationship with self. And once again, Miss Daisley, we're talking about men with women because men get licks all day long. So here's a man show. We talk about women here with deliver. So we're just saying that the healthy variable is many times that the negotiation for men is not fear. Because when men try to present themselves, then we talk about balancing out. But it's not always a balance out for the men's perspective, right? We're not talking about unhealthy, but we're talking about healthy men. So that's saying everybody's fully healthy, but for the most part. And they go into a situation which does not have healthy negotiations. And where does that come from? Once again, Shamar touching a little bit, not seeing healthy relation with mom and dad, right? If I've seen where mom has been unhealthy with dad,
Mr. Mark, what's going on behind there? Because he being distracted.
Right. Some noises. No, sorry. That a health relationship with mom and dad. Then by extension, that feeds into my definition of this relationship. So if I go in and see mom being unhealthy, whatever you're talking about, the baby boomers or children of the baby boomers, they have a different culture. And now we have in this era, this interpretation of that behavior. Now I'm being subject to your interpretation, and all of a sudden I'm a maid. I'm not this. I'm trying to wait. I never said you're a maid, like what I mean. Don't leave this cup in the sink. And this anger is not a saying with babes. Is this anger, this attitude, and every time having a healthy relationship with yourself and your emotions.
I want to chime in there. See,
go ahead.
Very cool. That I have learned as I've grown up. Remember, we often say that, and I remember hearing Pastor, Myrna Odell and her late husband, Adrian, would talk about the fact that there's some of the behaviors that they saw coming from their parents. And they had to be intentional to say that this is not the type of relationship that or type of behavior that we will carry into our relationship. And necessarily you can't blame them because that's what they were taught and that's what they saw. So that's what they continue to, to build upon. But I think that now that we become a little more aware and we understand more, especially, after St. Clair did a program, I think we should revisit it sometime this year, when St. Clair did a program that talked about understanding personality types. When you understand your spouse's personality, and I'm talking about persons who are married. Now, when you understand before you get married that you have someone who is always on the go versus someone who's a little more laid back, their responses may take time to come back to you. Their mannerisms in terms of how they manage emotions and manage the stresses based on what they would have learned from their parents. Because as St. Clair said, if you come up in a household where you heard a mother saying, I am not a maid. A woman gets married, and you know, there are certain things that are expected of her, or things that are going to come. As Heather says, that learned behavior, you then have to, you know, separate yourself from that learned behavior, where you have to say, this is not what I am going to carry forward. Where you know you're not going to say, because your spouse asks you to cook stew food, where I ain't a maid. No, you're going to say, you know what? My husband wants that from me. You know, in a loving, in now understanding the nature of giving and relationships and the expectancy that comes, you know, you cook with love. You know, for me, it's a joy to have a spouse say to me, hun, you can make some macaroni pie for me, or or I can get some cuckoo. That type of thing, you know, that's a love to know that that husband can come to you and say, this is what I'm looking for. Just like not only cooking but spending time. Hun, you think we can go and watch a movie? Hun, you know, those kind of things. You recognize that that bad, I want to call it bad, learned behavior from sometimes our parents, we cannot carry that forward now. We've got to set a new precedent for our children, where we teach them that there's nothing wrong with cooking for your spouse, cleaning for your spouse in return doing those things. It is not a woman's thing, it's not a man's thing, but naturally it is what is expected in a healthy relationship, because we are both giving towards each other. And it's not about doing more or doing less, but it's actually about just responding in love, because that is what it is. A love to do it. A love to do it.
But that is why Marissa and guys, it's very important. You know, it is very important that in marriage counseling, and before anybody get, I always admire the young sister there who come to me, who ain't necessarily got a date yet to get married, who ain't necessarily decide that they're going down that road. But what they have done is they come and say, listen, I ain't gonna date. We just want, there's some little issues. We want to see if we're compatible. We want to check out. And that's very good for the young people to date. But a lot of times what happens that causes these problems, where cooking for me or doing this for me is a problem, is because people don't really like the love, what the heart saying, what the body saying, what the body's like, they want to get together. And they don't realize that what needs to be discussed are your expectations. Right? You have to sit down and say, listen, I doing it. I like the left side of the bed. I don't deal with that. I don't. And at the end of the day, you go to the other person and say, no, you hear all my expectations. Which of these you can never deal with? So at least you're clear with that. You can deal with the counseling and work on that. One of the things that are easy, blam. Oh, good. And you will realize that a lot of times more things are positive than negative. But here's how human behavior operate. You want the 2 or 3 little negatives so bad that you tend to hold on those and lose out on the rest. I remember years ago when we first started church, my wife said to me a couple of years after a meeting, she says, my husband is kind of a perfectionist. And like me, I might only be able to give 85%. She would tell you from that day, I was a changed man. Because here's what I related to that statement. Here it is that I fighting to get 15, 10% more of my wife, and she has already given me 90%. I know I do. I hold on hard for the 90 and let me work for the 10. Because I could be seeking to throw away the baby, but I thought as to say it, trying to get her to line up to what I think should happen and all of that, and then lose out on a good woman. 28 years later, going 29, as a happy man. Why? Because I decided I can work, and thank God for the 85 or 90%, and we will work along with the 10%. And that's work for me, right? A tremendous woman I have in my life, because I had to make a determination. And that's what each person got to do. Make a decision till the love says, give up that. You fight it for that 10% because as we were accustomed to it, as your parents went through, or you are washing for the body. And so what the person say, we can do that same attitude. Is that going to help? So, you know, the love, and I'm talking about the love in your heart, you want to jump in the bed and make love. I'm talking about the agape love, that love that says that I can love this person. Yeah, they got everything perfect, but neither am I. I don't got everything perfect. There are things my wife would tell you about me that, you know, 28 years later, I probably say away. I change a little bit, right? And with her, but we have learned how to make it. And many people out there, because you're prepared to love. I get up every morning, look at to see how I can satisfy her. She does the same thing. And so when we butter, in a lot of trouble, when problems come, we can basically deal with them because we realize there's a problem, but we still meet. And that's what you got to do. Expectations are very important. And then how far you're willing to go with the other person's expectations. If you're willing to go so. That's my view.
Agreed. Totally agreed. Bishop Edison, you're sitting taking it in. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know me. I am always the analyst sitting there taking in all the wonderful information
Good
that I've
job.
shared. But going back to the concept of green flags, yeah, we're looking at certain core areas that if they are missing, I mean, we might have to define them. We might have to be able to break them down, explain them a little bit. But take, for example, this is a photo that Minister Sinclair would have sent. And in it, he talks about affection. So one of the green flags would be a person who is affectionate. Yeah, you don't want a person that bottles up their emotions, don't want to express themselves, that type of thing. He mentions a person who takes an interest in what you are interested in. So if you're interested in going out, if you're interested in going to the cinema, if you're interested in whatever you're interested in, because I've seen relationships where people go ahead and get married and their interests are very different and they're not willing to make any concessions on the interest. So then you have this conflict, ongoing conflict that could have been avoided. Yeah. No, the thing about green flags, again, piggybacking on what Bishop Mark said, you are not going to get 100% of the green flags that you're looking for. What the green flags are intended to show is that if there are sufficient green flags, you can go ahead with this relationship. If there are not, I mean, when you look and there are 10 major green flags, and 7 of those are missing, which means that you only have 3. You only have 3 out of the 10. Really and truly, that's a failed relationship. Doesn't make sense going forward with that relationship. That relationship is going to end typically in separation, excessive conflict, divorce, and so on. Yeah. So if you take the time to look at certain things, you can tell when you and a person are not a good match. Yeah. And more often than not, other people are going to see it. Your pastor and leaders are going to see it. But it's up to you, the individual, because it's you who are the one getting married. So you have to be able to determine, should I go ahead with this relationship or not? More often than not, if you got so many red flags and only a few green flags, no, that relationship is a dead end.
All right, so we continue. Minister Sinclair, your next point.
I love where we're going, because those initial ones now lead to the other ones, because now the list gets longer. Yeah. So the list now of the green flags you're looking for, it gets more in depth. As I said, when you first saw the person, you like the person, you like the physicality, you can talk and those things. Those are easy. Those things. Any person can fall in love. Fall in love is not hard. You know what I mean? Because you see somebody, you like them, you like this thing about them, that is easy. But when it is to like somebody, where they're doing things that you don't like or even hate, now that's when love really kicks in. We talk about the foundation of love, and you should be looking for a person that is easier to have that healthy relationship with. We're not saying that if you choose to have all red flags in those areas and choose the person, then you choose that person, but just deal with the consequences of it. We're just saying these are some of the things you want to look for to have a healthier relationship. So one of the things I do with couples is I expose the dirt. If anybody can fall in love, with cute things. That is not my job. That is you could do that on your own. As I say, you don't have to make grass grow. You gotta be deliberate with planting flowers. So the thing about it is exposing dirt, exposing the challenges in persons, and do you still choose this person? When you get a little deeper, because once you're doing counseling and you're doing it, you're taking objective tools. There are things that you can see as Bishop Mark said. Okay, putting dishes in the sink, is that an issue? Is it the bathroom? Is it an issue? There's some people that you have to wash on the shower curtain, and that is a major thing to them because and somebody doesn't make or break. Some people, have 3 sponges at the sink. All those things. Is it a deal breaker? And this is where you really get deep, because any person can say, listen to the same music. Oh, we have those things. But what about the other things, the fundamental? Our finance is an important thing for you, because what we can say we negotiate, but if you are a person that thinks in the future, and you're a person that think about putting down and saving and all those things, but you have a person that's continuously splurging the money, especially have a joint account. You know what I mean? You put it in, but it's faster coming in, it going out, and then it got a credit card. So now you went from being in the green, from the black to being in the red. No, we got a problem. So you know what I mean? Legit. That is a serious thing. And that's one of the reasons I say that we need to look at how does she spend her own money. If she's not good with her money, don't expect her to be good with your money. So that's one of the reasons. So we have that discussion. But we go a little deeper and we talk about affection and that type of thing. How important is affection to you? And I must say that a lot of people that talk about affection are not necessarily affectionate. You know, a lot of people think that sex means affection. That is not the same. You know, some people do not like to express. A lot of women, believe it or not.
Explain that, because I think that we have, I think that we have really allowed movies, television to create some false narratives for us, where we think like that, as you said, that affection only comes when you are behind closed doors. You know, for other people, and like I saw a post that said that, you know, love does not always come with holding hands. It comes sometimes with someone asking, "Have you eaten? Um, can I do this for you? What do you need?" So I think we need to really understand that, as I said, you know, the false narratives, the learned behavior, especially coming from parents and those that have gone before us, that is sometimes so wrong, that has led to us being unhealthy in the ways that we understand, comprehend, and even receive and give love. Because as you're talking, I'm here thinking about the fact that there are times that people have all these green flags in front of them, but because, like you say, she doesn't do this, or she doesn't do this because this is what your mother has done for you, you miss a great spouse. You miss a great spouse because you're saying, my mom used to do this and my mom used to do that, so she should do that. And then too, I will say this: there's some mothers who do an injustice to some of our sons and make it very difficult now for women to have to fill that void, and also vice versa with some fathers too. But I believe that we, as you said, that affection thing, we need to understand that love will look different. That's what reminds me about the love languages. When you understand how your person receives love, then you're better able to know that, like Bishop Mark, who had a wife this week, whose wife had a birthday this weekend, he knows how to say, you know what, my wife likes this, so I made sure that, you know, Lady Kathy had this, because I know that this is how she will understand and receive love. And then I got another notch there, you know, big, you know, more love coming my way. But I like what you said, that because we are an affection deficit society, where we think that it must look like this, and it happens only in the bedroom behind closed doors, and that's that's an untruth that we've held on to.
Yes.
Go ahead.
My things for men, I am just saying, a lot of men do not verbalize their challenges. The difference that for a lot of women, they have avenues to express their lack of affection in a recent relationship, and they do express it more. But in the field that I'm in, where men become transparent, a lot of men, believe it or not, are hurting because they don't receive affection from. You should nobody know they were married long. That's Mr. Jason to you, Bishop Mark. But I move on. Right.
I couldn't help.
Right. You
would
with Jason later.
All right, I will speak
with
him.
Jason later. Right. Right. The thing about it, that a lot of men are not receiving affection. So that's one of the things, honestly, that a lot of women may claim they want affection. And I'm serious. I find that our society, that for a lot of women, they're not necessarily affectionate. And I'm just not knocking anyone, but I'm just saying this is me being very objective. So it's not subjective. This is given even other females when they come into our environment. There's somebody asked the question, why are Benjamin seen to be so harsh? So men are very much in the experiential side of it, where you may hear about sex. Yeah, we have sex. There's a closed door. Because we have affection and sex and the same thing. Intimacy and sex, we have the same thing. You know what I mean? Passion means vigorous. All of those are wrong concepts of those words. So a lot of women, when it comes to affection and expressing that affection, I find that that's one thing for a lot of men. A lot of men not getting an affectionate woman in many areas. And But it all depends on saying, and that's why therapy is important. But they say that a lot of men are crying out and saying, no, we're not getting affectionate spouse or, have that expression. So that's the thing that we have to learn. Apart from the love language is important. The love languages are important, but the love language should not be where I do the test and say, babes, acts of service is my thing, so washing dishes makes me feel good. That's not the test it's for necessarily. But it's understand yourself and be able to understand yourself enough that we have healthy negotiations. And at the same time to grow. Because to stay and say, okay, acts of service is my thing and just stay in that box. No, you need to grow in other areas and start to balance out yourself on why that is important, but also grow because a person may not be able to fit all the things that mean importance to you. So when you talk about affection quickly, but affection is more than sex, it's more than holding hands and the expression. And a lot of men don't feel affection because they don't feel respected. A lot of men don't feel respected. When you don't respect a man, I'm serious, he doesn't feel loved. Right? So many times
I want to address that question there that's on our screen too, because we talk about affection. You said, but men don't show the need for affection. So you just talk about respect. So let's address that to answer this question.
Very quickly.
How some men especially understand it.
But he's saying, once again, I don't necessarily agree with that. Because many women come and say, oh, my husband don't talk, or my husband don't this. And I said, bring it. And they talk a lot. So there's a surprise that me and the guy going at it, bang, 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 bang. And I turned to him and said, why do you think this is happening? Because they're sitting shocked because they figure this man is not going to talk. He's not going to discuss his feelings. And he does. But the reason that they normally share because the space is set where it is fear. And once men recognize that the rules are fear and they're not changeable, they start to speak. Because if a man is expressing his feelings or he's speaking about something that's important to him, and then you hear, oh, that I don't feel, or because women normally speak from their feelings and not necessarily from a fact. I'm not saying nothing, just help you if you hear me. When you share about your feelings, it's subjective. So it doesn't have a healthy negotiation, right? Which is different. So once the rules become fear, men then recognize, shoot, I can then share my feelings and my emotions. And men are affection. People say, men don't be passionate. Do you see football? Do you see cricket? You understand? Do you see sports? Do you see where men are passionate and men are hugging and crying because Messi scored a goal or whoever? They're crying, I mean legit crying and hugging each other, jumping and screaming. That is affectionate with a stranger even. So what is that? I'm just saying. And yes, some men need to learn to feel safe expressing that emotion with their spouse. And that's where some tools they have to come into play. But a lot of men on the other side, like Bishop Marco, but a lot of men on that side, just say to receiving, a lot of men don't give them serious. A lot of men don't give men affection. They're receiving end of affection, but they don't give affection necessarily.
Yeah, you are so correct. A whole set of stuff you covered excellently well. But listen to me, right? I think the aforementioned there just now. A lot of times, too, women feel that a man should know. We got this misconception that we should know. We gotta read these signs. We should know that I want this. Open your mouth and say what you want. I mean, I don't. And so then we put men too in this box. Women get together and they talk a lot of stuff. And there are exceptions, Marissa, to a lot of these things. But the general rule is that women seem to think that I know because of the books they read and the movies and so on, as Marissa said earlier, that the man is the prince on the horse in the shining armor, so he must come with a dossier on them and know what they should want and whether they should get this and that. You gotta open the mouth and talk. And then the other thing is that you have a situation where they open their mouth and won't give the man a chance to say nothing. It's because they come to the preconception before the man can finish, they want answer. Before the man can make his point and even get emotional, if he get too emotional, he's soft, he too laid back. Man, listen, the man going real hard because women come with the pre-knowledge that they know. I hear them all the time. Women don't know women, but women know the men. Women want to fool in, want to sell, as a matter of truth. When I feel, when I know, when I don't know, we all go that knowing us for what other women that had bad experiences, or you might have had one or two, and you make a general thing for all men. And that is where the challenge comes. So when you hear, I like saying, I have a situation where a lady called me and tell me, listen, my husband see down, she freaked out. She came in the office and sat down with me. I think she shared this before. And when everything went down, when the guy, when the guy that talked, she just all up. So I asked her one question. I said, but when you first met your husband, Wasn't he laid back? Yes, he always was laid back. Now, she thought I licking the man. But when the man finished, the man said to me, listen, if I say a gaba, she say ba. If I say buy rice, she buy cuckoo. If I tell her to use breeze, she use. So the man said, you know what I do? Like most men, I decide, let she wear the pants. Right? I want to report today that she had never heard her husband express himself like that in all the years they were married. Today, they're happily married still. But what I'm saying is that when we come with these preconceived notions, especially with the ladies, and we men times, some men too don't want to be too adversarial. As Sinclair said, they love the wife and they want to show love and all of that. So they take a lot of stuff and walk away with it. The problem is that women got to determine that they must listen and tread. Don't go with preconception, what people say and what you experience. Maybe you're 16 years old, that fella that on you. Deal with what is the reality. So that's why I said at first. We need to sit down and list the expectations. So I start with the things you like and don't like about your partner. As Sinclair said, when he likes come, I love his eyes, I love his smile, he's handsome. But when you hear the things that they dislike, man, people feel dropped down. Why didn't know that was the case? So these are all the things that you got to put there. Sinclair said, you bring all dirt, man. We ain't coming, but I counsel that people, when if they get through my counseling, they deserve to be married. If they don't, left it out. And that's why I counsel, not for them to come. So I go, I want to know, what's the bed you want, where you like, what about money, all these things. And that is very important because a lot of people come with this preconceived, men are no good, but I got one, I can try and see if he can work out good. No, women got issues too. So that's just my dollar instead of 3 cents. That's what it is.
Listen, go ahead, because I want to get ready for us to wind down.
Yes. I have to wind out, you know.
Well, I don't really have anything to add. I'm with Bishop Mar. I think communication is important, even when it comes to the green flags, because there's a lot that we take for granted when it comes to relationships, and we don't really look at some of the major issues in the relationship. So even, the whole thing of affection, it will be good for you to go on the internet and actually look up some of the ways of showing affection, because some people have a stereotypical way affection must be holding hands only, but there's so many different ways that you can show affection, and that will be meaningful to the person that you're with. So I like what was said. Don't write off a relationship if there are a lot of green flags, because there are 1 or 2 areas that don't meet your expectation. And we got to be careful that we're not unrealistic, because I think with everything that's happening in society, sometimes people have these unrealistic notions. They're looking for perfection in a man or perfection in a woman, and you will never get that. Yeah, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you have to settle for any and everybody. Yeah, because there's some people that feel like that they have to settle, but you don't have to settle. What we're saying here,
before not any, right?
Yeah, what we're saying here is just look at some of the green flags, and if there are sufficient green flags, yeah, especially when you get that confirmation by the Spirit of the Lord, along with the green flags, you could go ahead and further the relationship.
You see, I found, because we're getting ready to end, and I really want us next week, Sinclair, if we can, stick a pin here and look at affection. We have grown up, especially our cultural responses, that it looks like this or it looks like that, and then we couple it with movies. It looks like this and it looks like that. I think that we need to understand who we are dealing with. As I said earlier, if you are talking, we getting to know someone, and you recognize that they're a little laid back in your courtship period, that getting to know person, that is their personality. They're a laid back person. It does not mean that sometimes they may be laid back and lazy, but that does not necessarily mean that they are lazy. It might just be their temperament. Then you need to understand, and I go back to this, there's so many times that people have great potential spouses, but the fact that they're looking for this expectation of what they, and I mean, we all have expectations. So maybe this person is divorced. Maybe this person has had a bad experience with finances. Maybe they are working on themselves, but they're not quite there. I think that sometimes, because it doesn't look like the finished product that we are looking for right there and then, many people pass on great spouses that over time, if they continue on that instead of working on themselves, and you also helping them to work. And with persons like Bishop Edison, Sinclair, and Mark, the counseling, you can get there. But I think that we have had some preconceived notions, and especially as women, and I I usually pick up from our ladies, but there are times when, whatever, Bishop Mark, I see you, times when we have been wrong. We have been wrong in terms of sometimes we have been wrong in terms of how we approach it. That he must come with a whatever. Yes, y'all have just heard me say that. You come with a dossier where you say we expect men to know everything. They're not going to know everything. They're not going to know that maybe you prefer flowers versus probably a dinner. They're not going to know these things. And I believe that having conversations, true conversations, and I think in this day and age, I'm going to say there's no woman who is looking to get into any potential relationship should come to pretend, come straight up, have a conversation. Mind you enough, my daughters and I had a conversation this morning, and when I heard this 9-year-old and this 14-year-old talk, I was like, whoa. They said, when you're talking to somebody, find out from them, do you have a girlfriend? Are you in a complicated relationship? Um, ask those questions. And I said, how many grown women don't even ask those questions? If I'm talking to you, are you single? And what does your single look like? Are you in a complicated relationship, an on and off relationship? Ask these questions so that you already know what it is you're getting into. And he gives you his answer, whether it's truthful or not. He has given you his answer. So should he deviate from that, you can say, you know what, this is what you said. You know what, that you can make a decision about if you're going to continue or not. But I believe honestly that we have to unlearn some stuff that we have been holding on to, things that have not worked in relationships in the past, and don't apply them to relationships in the beginning. As you say, Bishop Mark, that relationship you were in with a man 10 years ago now does not mean that every man is that way coming 10 years later. Does not mean that we cannot use that as a template for relationships to say that all relationships are like this. And I think that men now need to also separate from their mothers, where, um, because mommy washed my clothes, um, because mommy did this, and because mommy did that, you expect a spouse to do that. That's not fair, because you don't want that also on you. So I think we need to both know that, this is what we want. These are my deal breakers. You must be a believer. You must value your relationship with God. You must respect your mother. Whatever your deal breakers are, know what they are, so that you don't find yourself compromising and in a relationship that is not going to benefit you in the long run. Bishop Mark, I'm going to give you our final. I give you 2 minutes, not 60 seconds. 2 minutes.
Well, the head time you give me 2 minutes, I only want 60 seconds. I just want to say it was very interesting. And I think that, the whole thing about, I am sorry that I didn't name my book a little differently. I said that working at marriage, but it should be that marriage is hard work. I got written another book. Marriage is hard work. It's all about seeking to, show your love. And I think that once you give out your love, you can get back the love. But each person have to do their part where that's concerned. Yes, please. So as you know, I have to run with those comments. So y'all can close off. I wish everybody a good day. Y'all stay as good as you are. And God bless you all. Thank you. Next week, God willing.
All right. So we're getting ready to end. Do you see that question there? Sinclair, take note of that question. That's a very good question. Should you marry potential?
No. And the answer is no.
Should you marry potential? I think we need to look at that. We need to really to really understand that and look at affection when we come back. So next week we continue part 3, the green flags. I'm sure Minister Sinclair has more, and also Bishop Mark, Bishop Edison. And just to remind you that we're starting from 9:00 next week, and Women on Wednesday returns this Wednesday. Women on Wednesday, so get ready for it. We're not going to be talking about the green flags this week. The ladies are going to have their cupcake moments this Wednesday, but next week we'll be looking at the green flags that women should look for. We're returning with Women on Wednesday, God willing, this Wednesday. Bishop Mark, Bishop Edison, Minister Sinclair, thank you. Thanks to Dion, Sally, Dale, for all of you joining us. Join us again next Monday, sorry. Give us a like, and share our live stream this morning on Men on Monday. I'm the lone woman amongst the men, sharing our thoughts. But it was a great show. I must say, I learned a lot sitting here. I learned a lot this morning. Some great takeaways. Jot down those things in my book, for that. Not going there. Let me leave that right there. We leave that right there, right? So have yourself a very good day. Thanks to you, Minister Sinclair. Thanks to Bishop Edison for joining us. And I want to say thanks to all of you who've been with us on our live show this morning, Men on Monday. Feel free to join us again next week, Monday, 9 o'clock, right here. And don't forget, Bishop Edison has his new book out, 8 Success Factors for a Healthy Life. Please feel free to check it out on Amazon. Make your purchase today. And also, Bishop Mark has his lessons up for those of you who are in need of CSEC mathematics and accounts lessons, doing some great work. And check it out. And don't forget, we have none other than Healthy Cottage taking care of you and your body. Until next time, God bless you. That has been our show, Men on Monday.